got the latest set of index prints here. And take a look. Some are better than others. Looks like the white didn't print great. Might have another nozzle clog. But I'm told that this might be some of the easier things that are going on right now with Index, because Bondtech has responded, Prusa has responded to users, and I guess that means we got a lot to talk about, because, yeah, I asked you all and you got a lot of bad to say. Let's get into it. I mean, to start off here, like, it got all 4 of them done, okay? And it took a grand total of 1 day and 6 hours to finish. Not bad. So we have the 4 individual index pieces, but if we look, the green and the orange looks a little rough there. All the way down here, it looks great. See, the problem is, though, you can definitely see some issues with the white. But of course, on the one where the green is messed up, the white happens to look the best. It appears that I might have some sort of either nozzle clog. God, it did a number over on the ball bearing parts too. I wonder. Oh yeah, that ends up looking a whole lot better. That's a fun thing about Index, but obviously we still have some work to do on this. It's not perfect, and I don't know, I thought I was dialing the profiles. There's basically 0 stringing. I think we did a lot to help on that, but I'm wondering if maybe we did too much. Because definitely if all we did was just one part, this wouldn't look the way that it does. It would likely have the worst out of every one of these qualities. I'm assuming it's gonna be a retraction-based issue where we might be jamming. So what exactly does that mean? Well, it means we still have tuning to do. I wanted this to be way more of like a polished product, and it hasn't worked out that way. But for not a polished product, these look pretty good. You might just want to cold pull all of your index heads just to be safe. But it appears that these are much more sensitive to temperature than other nozzles that we've ever worked with. We're moving in the right direction. Except it's not exactly moving in the right direction. This machine's moving in the right direction. We've got some new cubes to take a look at. So we have the cube that I've been playing with and the one fresh off the printer. Now, if you don't know why this cube is something that we're talking about, look at last week's PrintFixFriday, where one of the things that we dealt with was that the cooling just wasn't there. So I made some changes, and let me show you. There's definitely more cooling in one area of the machine, and then on some of our colors, we have visible banding. Definitely see that bridge layer's not great. So I think we just have a cooling issue here. We might be running too hot. I don't know if we're running too cold, and we're probably not running too cold. The green, once again, looks the worst to me. But when you consider that the 10 of them took about 18 hours, so it's about 1.8 hours each, that's pretty fast. I don't think many single color machines, I'm gonna point at that one over there, which is currently in timeout. I'm not certain any of those machines could do it faster with the same settings. And I would guess that a lot of them would have these same problems too. And I have a working theory. I'd like to know from you guys down below. I think that it is a hysteresis issue. While it is using an infrared probe to measure everything, right? So it's a non-contact thermal measurement system. My theory here is that it's not reading all the time, or it's not reading as often as we're used to for, you know, machines that have actual thermistors and sensors and systems like that. This is a different style of system. It uses non-contact sensor. I doubt it's reading all of the time. I don't have access to really understand exactly how much this reads or how often it reads, but my current working theory is it is a hysteresis issue where we are going above or below our target temperature too much, and there's no real easy way to calibrate exactly what the temperature is, right? With a standard thermistor hot end solution, we can do a PID loop and really dial that in. At least on the INDX Founders Edition, that is not yet possible. And being that it's a Prusa machine, I doubt it ever will be. But I'll be curious to know from the dev kit people if that is possible. However many of you may choose to hold on to your dev kits after the latest update. We have a Bondtech update regarding the index nozzles. So the TLDR of it is that, unfortunately, what we were hoping for and what I believe is a fair and reasonable compensation for founders and for dev kit owners is not actually going to happen. They're giving you 2 basic options. Option 1, a partial refund, which includes a $20 or €17.50 Bondtech store credit per nozzle, or $15 or €13 cash refund per nozzle. For an 8 tool version, that's looking at about 160 store credit or 120 cash refund. And for the 4 tool, you're looking at exactly half of that. Or you can also return your Founders Edition for a full refund. Prusa did release their own variant. Yes, we will link to both of these in the description so you all can read them. Prusa is basically matching the compensation, and Prusa's going to handle that to anyone that did order through Prusa, so that thankfully makes things a lot easier to deal with. But I do want to go into Prusa's testing, because the testing part is what I think stands out to me, and is something that not a lot of people are actually talking about regarding it. So each of the nozzles that they were testing PETG CF went through 10 kilos of material printed. The PCCF currently track 5 kilos of material, and PACF about 2 to 3 kilos. They measure some minimal wear at the nozzle orifice, but so far they have not seen a corresponding change in extrusion width, print accuracy, or visible print quality. That's a big thing to note. Here's the fun one. See, previously Prusa had talked about Ultra Glow, and to be fair, Ultra Glow just deletes hardened steel. Regular hardened steel and Ultra Glow are not friends. Like, it destroys the extrusion lines at Prusa. And if you guys do want to see us go and tour the extrusion lines at Prusa, make sure to leave a like and get subscribed, because we are planning to go to Form next, and Prague's not that far away. But see, it doesn't actually wear out the bore. It grinds down the tip, just the tip, and only for a minute. See, what happens with Ultra Glow is it is so effing abrasive that it's when the nozzle's passing over the material, it is sanding down the tip of the nozzle. So yes, you can print a fair bit of Ultra Glow before it starts to waller out, but your nozzle tip is gonna look a lot shorter. I'm okay with those numbers. PETG CF 10 kilos with no basic discernible wear that actually impacts print quality. Great. How many of you are actually going to print 10 kilos in any reasonable amount of time? I don't think that's going to be a lot. Now, I want to be clear. That is not what was ordered, right? When people bought these nozzles were supposed to be indestructible, effectively, with Bondtech claiming that they can handle even the most abrasive materials. Now, were they expecting Ultra Glow to be thrown into that mix? Probably not. So far, like, those numbers are better than what a lot of us expected, and it brings up a fair point of, do we need to start actually testing other hot ends from other manufacturers? Do we need to test hot ends from Bamboo, Creality, Soval, Flashforge to see, are they as hard as people think they are? Because you can't do the traditional, like, HRC Rockwell test, because you need a decent sized piece of metal and you have to dent it. So you kind of just have to pass it across different materials and see if it wears out. If you guys want to see that, let me know. We are working on an entire review-based platform for 3D printing and maker stuff in general. So if you guys do want to follow along with that, you do want to support us, $10 tier and higher gets you behind the scenes access to our private Discord server, where we talk about this entire new program that we're working on to hold companies accountable. Now, Prusa is adding something on top. Prusa is upgrading every single one of their machines from the Core 1 Plus to the Core 1 Plus Gen 2. And that includes things like the 1.5 GT belts and better tuned parts on the machine, including, it looks like Prusa might even be going toward injection molded components for some pieces on the Core 1 itself, which I'm really excited for, because I know there's been a lot of animosity, drama, I don't know what you want to call it, regarding the printed parts. I don't personally have a problem with it as long as the machines work, but yeah, eventually once you get your design pretty well handled, injection molding is just easier. But I know a lot of the community feels very strongly about the 1.5 GT belts. We could also see that Prusa is looking to ship the INDX conversion kits as early as this week, which is great. In theory, we're going to see more people getting them in early September. That's awesome. And we can see that the Reddit comments themselves are quite split, with one of the top comments saying, unpopular opinion as an FE buyer, I'm fine with the solution. We already got the whole package for cheaper, and now we can get another $100 off. Yes, I know it's not what was advertised, and for some people, it's going to suck to not print PETG Ultra Glow, which I don't think you could realistically do out of any hardened steel nozzle. but now I kind of want to try it. And for their personal use case, it seems perfectly fine. They love their index so far, so they're either going to take the cash or buy some nozzles from the store and we'll be happy. While not the cleanest communication and a bit shady, they're still happy with what they have. And yeah, I think some people will agree with that. And I think a lot of those that are going to agree with it are going to be the people in North America. Because those in North America, the USA people basically, are generally used to companies just giving us the middle finger and saying, your fault, not ours, and gaslighting us, like we've seen from many manufacturers in the 3D printing industry. And we can see regarding the Ultra Glow, Mikolas from Prusa chimes in saying that they've printed over 2 kilos of Ultra Glow per nozzle, and it still prints fine. The problem is the nozzle is now shorter, literally grounded by gliding above the printed Ultra Glow. So it has a problem reaching the nozzle wiper if you wanted to do tool changes with it, but I mean, technically it works. You can see others saying feels a bit shitty that the refund amount per nozzle is roughly the difference between the first mentioned price and what they cost now. Yep. There might be some consumer protection stuff, specifically the EU Directive 2019/771. I'm not a lawyer here in the States, let alone in other countries, but been told to take a look at Articles 13 and 14 regarding this directive and what that looks like for users. So if you happen to be in the EU or want to play that legal game, by all means, burn some legal money. It's not my game to play, though. Even to the point where apparently some case law might exist that when a defective consumer good is installed in good faith is replaced, the seller must remove it and install the new item or pay the cost. So there might be some decent recovery options for those in the EU. I don't know if it applies outside of the EU. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Check your local laws, listings, talk to a lawyer, and do all the things that I just don't care to do right now because my time is way more valuable than dealing with what is effectively $1,000 3D printer upgrade. Now, I asked around because I think it makes sense to get the community feedback and to see how they kind of vibe with it if it was. First off, one, you all are super cool for letting me use your names in this, so kudos for that. We have Wexter saying, so they're giving us 2 options, to take the money/credit or return the index. Again, I'm a PLA dude, so this really doesn't affect me, and I should be happy to get my 104 euros back, right? On their website, the same nozzles priced at 48.59, so that means that we get their steel CHT nozzles for 35.59. Sounds like a good deal, except we paid for a kit with hardened nozzles, and they instead are giving us 104 euros back, so we can buy 1.5 hardened nozzles later when they produce those. That is assuming that their current price stays the same when they go to Hardened. And option B is, of course, you can return the index, not specified in what state, which they know people won't do because it takes like 5 to 6 hours to remove it from a Core 1 and return Core 1 to its previous state. So yes, I don't think that's right. I have to agree with Wexter on this. I'm not personally happy, but I'm not happy because I had better faith in Bondtech to make it right. I understand that a lot of consumers are going to say, hey, it's better than nothing. And while it technically is it? Because you're now accepting something that's a lower quality product than what you were promised. And while it does perform better than a lot of people expected, us included, we did not expect them to perform this well. They don't perform the way that they were advertised. And that advertisement and the performance based on exactly what the advertisement says is the key factor for me. I have a good relationship with the Bondtech people. We are friends. We've had multiple off-the-record chats about this exact solution. And quite frankly, I was not betting the community was going to take it as well as they did. We can see, though, some other people have some harder thoughts associated with it. White Stormy says, I think Bondtech not being upfront when they gave us a hard-ish nozzle when they advertised hardened nozzles out notice was a massive mistake and will probably haunt them for a while. I can't for the life of me understand how they thought it was okay, and I know it doesn't justify it, but let's be realistic about the vast majority of people that buy this. We aren't loading and printing with 8 different highly abrasive filaments. I wouldn't mind having one as a just in case. Their compensation works for me, and the FE's lower initial price that was honored helps take the sting out of it, which is totally fair. I think the mob mentality is over-exaggerating the actual harm caused by this. That is such a valid way to look at this, and probably one of the more level-headed takes that, yeah, okay, you're getting it for less money and you're getting a partial refund. It's not what you ordered, which again is still the thing that stings for me, is it's not what people ordered. It is not what we helped advertise at Formnext crashing Bondtech's website. And that doesn't sit well with me as a content creator. We can see FineStart saying, where's the control group? Without running the same tests on common hardened nozzles, that doesn't carry any water for me. I don't trust Bondtech to get their act together. I'm done and I'm taking my $15 and walking away from this whole mess. I think a lot of people are going to say the same thing, where they said, F it, I want to be done with this. I want this drama out. And I agree. I don't want to keep talking about this. I want to show you how to get your prints back to printing with purpose. And you can still submit your print failures to pff@3dmusketeers.com if you want our help, experts that will actually help get your printers back and running, because I'm currently working on tuning index profiles. Yes, clearly I still have more work to do. And in talking with Prusa staff members, yeah, it's heavy on all of them too. It got to a point where the actual Prusa Discord had to make an announcement about trying to keep it from being toxic. The communications shouldn't be so toxic that I'm over here saying that it's resin. Your frustration is valid. And if you think Bondtech is being dumb or they're being mean or they're being whatever, don't go yell at Prusa staff. It's not their job. Please be nice to the public-facing employees from Prusa. They're likely finding out at the same time we all are finding out too. I think this Reddit thread, from an outsider perspective, hits the nail on the head for me. A promise is a promise. But I agree here that Bondtech promised something and didn't deliver. To make matters worse, they had previous knowledge their product fell short of the description they provided in their marketing. Nozzle hardness is one of the main characteristics of a nozzle, and it directly affects performance and durability. What they did is akin to a phone manufacturer advertising a phone with a 24-day battery life, but knowingly ship a phone that has a max battery life of 16 hours. I don't think I could have a better way to boil this entire thing down into an analogy that people will understand. Does your phone still work? Yep, it works, but it doesn't work as advertised. And you'd be pissed. They go on to state that it seems to them that Bondtech is banking on the fact that most customers will begrudgingly accept the difference as compensation because they don't want to spend the time and effort to disassemble their machine to get a full refund. But do you really want pissed off customers? Is that how Bondtech wants their company to be perceived? That is really the question that we have to ask. More people have been getting banned from the Bondtech Discord. Honestly, I don't know if I support the bans, but we have to accept the fact that public backlash is not only a possibility, but it is almost certainly a guarantee. But it got so bad to the point where Prusa had to put something in their own Discord about it. And that means we as a community have failed. And I think that's the big thing that's different between this whole Nozzlegate situation and other situations that we've seen in this industry. See, rather than other companies ignoring us, telling us we're wrong, gaslighting us, etc., 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 Bondtech and Prusa are admitting to this issue. They have provided some fix. It's not one that I'm personally 100% happy with, but I recognize that something is better than nothing. They could have done the same thing that Bamboo often does, or Creality does, or Soval does, whomever, and just give you the middle finger and say, it's your problem now, buddy. Return it if you want. We don't care. I think there's more that we can do as a community to lift each other up. Remember, rising tide lifts all benchies. How do you feel, especially those of you that are outside of the United States? How do you feel about this? And if you're in the United States that are just finding out about potential legal directives that exist in the EU, how do you feel about them freedoms and your rights and all the things that you thought you had, but you clearly don't? Love to know down in those comments. But if you do want to support the efforts that we do here in, I guess, apparently continuing to piss off every single company we've ever worked with, because, hey, at the end of the day, not everybody's perfect. And I think it's important that we hold those accountable for when they make mistakes and actually do our best to make them fix their mistakes. You can join for as little as $1 a month, and at the $10 tier and higher, you get to come hang out in our private Discord server where you get to have a lot more in-depth talks about this. There is a lot to be said. That is all I have for you all today. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one.